Okay.
Good morning, YouTubers. This is Ramblin' Rose with Have Gas Will Travel. As you all know, I was pretty bored down here, and you all gave me quite a few suggestions on what to do. Well, one of the things that I enjoy doing is doing these wind twirlers. And there are parts of it that I can't do because of my lupus. So my husband graciously asked if I would like him to do them. So he's going to start with doing what he has to do to make it so I can finish them off. So anyway, here we go.
All right. We start with matting, and we fold it lengthwise because it's wider one way than it is the other. We bend it right in the middle, and it does not come out completely centered on the little holes in it. It comes out actually on a rib, so you have to cut to one side of the rib. Doesn't matter which side. And then what I do is I take my marker and I come right down through the center and leave a mark so I know where to cut it, because it's going to get cut right in half. So once that's done, this is the matting I use to cut it on. It's for a cloth or something. It says Creative Home Arts Club Life member, but I set that on there. I literally cut it right in half. It gives me two halves, which make a hole. Alright, then, I don't know how good you can see it or not, there's little tabs that stick out a little bit. I cut them off carefully. As good as I can. Then for the first one, you're probably going to want to fold this in half. And of course, I put a line on there. Now this does not get cut. This is just a line that will come into play later. Now what that does, that line there, here's one that's already cut. You can see, I don't know if you can see it or not, the little line right there. This is just to show basically where center is. It's not going to be perfect probably. You're probably going to have one set of squares on one end longer than the other. It doesn't make any difference. That's just so she knows where to put her wire through to get them somewhere near centered up. And I did that wrong. That wants to go this way. That's why it's nice after you have your first piece cut, then you can just take one of the old ones, lay on there, find your mark on the old one, put it on a new one, and this is her center line, so she knows where to put them on the wire. If we didn't make a mistake, we wouldn't be human. Okay, then what I do is I count over 3 holes, same as the other one. Count over 3 holes, and I cut that off as close to the rib as I can. It's a little harder out here outside, because usually I cut these on the kitchen table. Then you end up with one. This one here is not quite right. It needs a little tabbers cut off a little bit. But like I said, I'm out here on the table. I'm standing up. Usually I'm sitting down. And it makes it a little easier. I can usually do one of these. I can cut the whole sheet in just a couple minutes inside. But of course I'm outside and I put it on camera, so it's not coming out quite right. There. We got most of the tabs cut off. That is one. And then what I do is I take the sheet, and you'll notice it's got the little tabby things on it. We got to cut them off on this side too. And believe it or not, as slow as this looks, after you've done a few, you can go pretty quick. Then we count over 3 holes and cut it again. As close to the rib as possible. Then you've got another one, and they're already marked for center, so when she goes to put her wire in, her wire will come through there. And this is what happens. They, with the wire through the center, she doesn't have to sit there and fold them in half, figure out where the center hole is. She's got a mark to go by. Once again, cut the tabs off. Alright. I've got to cut both sides of this sheet up to make those. And I'm not going to bore you with doing all the cuts. I'm just going to go ahead and shut the camera off. I'll do my cuts, then I'll turn it back on and we'll go from there. Okay, when you're all done cutting, and I only cut half the sheet up, you'll end up with about 32 pieces. And of those 32, we only use 30 on our twirlers. I say we, I mean she. Uses 30, then I have 2 left over. You'll have a bunch of this garbage here that you cut tabs off. Now you will end up with a piece with only 2 holes and some tabs on the side. I've been cutting the tabs off, the 2 holers. I've been saving them, I don't know why. I thought maybe we could do something else with them. But you will always end up, because these don't come out perfectly even, with an extra piece. Then, seeing how they are already marked in the centers, she can find the centers pretty easy. Then what I do is I cut her a piece of wire. This is just standard red brand wire, 16 gauge. It's tie wire is what it is. They use it for tying concrete and stuff, for tying the metal, the rebar on concrete. Then I just pull out roughly, I don't know. Doesn't hurt to pull out a little too much. So you can always cut it off later. This stuff is dirt cheap, I think the whole roll. And I've used quite a bit of it. It was only like, I don't know, $4. Then I cut her a wire. And after I cut it, I put a loop on one end with a pair of needle nose pliers. And I gotta stop the camera for a minute and get the parts I need. Oh, faster. Okay, we've got our wire cut. I've got a small loop I started to put in the end of it. Then what I do is, this is another thing you're going to need. All they are is swivels. They're a number 5 swivel, I think they are. And that I put on the end of the wire. And I finish closing the loop up. So the loop's closed, so that can't come out. Then I kind of center the loop. Make sure it's closed all the way. So when my wire hangs down, the loop's kind of in the center. And then from there, Rose does the rest. I am done until she actually has the pieces put on. So I'll let you watch what she does. But they're pretty simple to make. And you just got to use a little bit of caution. I want to close that loop up just a little bit more if I can. There. But basically that's all there is to getting started. Now I'm going to turn it over to her and let her do her thing. So I'm going to shut you off here for a minute. We'll turn back on when she is ready. Okay, I've turned you over to Rose. She'll show you the rest.
Okay. We bought this container at Lowe's for 15 bucks. They have a cheaper one, but I noticed when we picked up one, we didn't even look at it, and I was waiting for Jack to do something, and I noticed it was broke. So I went back and got a little more expensive one to put the beads in. And it's got all kinds of openings that you can put different beads in, and these are called pony beads. So I take the wire that Jack made, and I take the strips that Jack cut for me. I can actually cut the strips, but it's easier for him with the wheel, and we're thinking of getting a paper cutter because it'd make it really easy. You can just open and no big deal. So the next step is, these are red, so figuring out the color I want to do. Do I want to do red and black, or red and blue, or red and white? Well, in this case, I'm going to do a red and white one. So I put one pony bead on to make it the top. Then I take this, and you can see the mark that Jack puts in for me, and put it right in the, as he told you, he counted down 3. Well, I put it down in the middle, okay? Then I put another bead on, and then I put another one of these on, and then so forth. And I'm not going to bore you with putting these on, but this is all it is on the wire. You put 30 on if you want the size that's sitting here, and if you want another, you just keep putting more of these on, make your wire longer, and put more of the beads and the strips on. And it's called plastic canvas. So, all right, I'm not going to bore you. We'll keep doing it. Okay, we're at the end of doing it now. I'm putting a bead on and the last 2 strips on. And like at the top, you always put a bead at the bottom. Now remember, it's your wind twirler. So if you want it longer, just make the wire longer and do as many as you want. Now I got to hand it to Jack to bend the wire. Right there.
Now, all I do on the end is I take the end, I cut whatever excess is on there off. Then I take and put a loop in the bottom, like I did on the top side, and it can be a little tricky to do. And I actually try to, doesn't always work, but I try, get that loop tucked back down inside that bead that is on the bottom. There. So what you end up with is a loop on the bottom like you had at the top, and then she'll take over from here, and I'm out of the way.
Okay. The next step is putting the beads on the sides. So, you do this with fish line. Now, I got 30 pounds because it's stiffer, because of my lupus. That way I can poke it in the holes. So just cut off a big long thing. It don't matter if you make it too big, because you know what? you're going to cut off some anyhow. And it's better to have too much than not enough. We've ran into that too. So what you do is you put a bead on, and then you tie that bead onto the fish line and put a knot in it. And you'll see that there's a little fishy tail. Don't worry about that fishy tail. Just start weaving up this. So what you do is you take the first strip, and you go in the very bottom one. Go in it, and go back in it like you were lacing up a pair of shoes. And then do it like this. And you just pull the string until your bead comes up. Then you get another bead, put it on, and get the next strip, go to the bottom, go up, go down. That's why you need the 3 holes. And it starts forming the little weave of it.
You'll notice as she's doing that, hold it up a little bit. As she pulls those tight, it starts to get a curve to it, which is what is going to catch the wind. And as she goes on up, the curve may not be straight on the one side. I don't mean straight, I mean it may not be curved enough. But when you go to do the second side, it's going to pull it right in. It's going to look nice.
One of the things I forgot to mention, I get going too fast because I'm used to doing them, and I'll skip a piece of canvas, or I'll forget to put a bead in. Just every so often check to make sure that you've got every one of your canvas pieces and a bead in between each. And each time when you get done and you put that new bead in, pull it tight so that it makes this curve tight. Okay. Okay. Now I've checked it. I go about every 6 little strips to make sure I've done it right. Now remember, when you finish putting it through, put a bead on to make take the bottom one, or go down it, then up it, then down again, pull it really tight to make it so it will curve. Put another bead on. I know I'm not very fast because of my hands not working right. Down, up the middle one, down. Pull the string through. And like I can't pull it through because I've made a booger. So, because I've caught the fish line. So I can take it apart. That's the good thing about this, is you can take it back apart. The part that you need to. So instead of making a mistake and just living with it, you just fix it when you see it. Alright. Before I put that last bead on, I check one more time to make sure that there's only one bead and I haven't missed any one of these strips. And I haven't. So I'll tie the last bead on that goes on the very top. Then I go in here.
In where?
In the top hole to go through the bead again, the top bead. And then I pull it tight. Then I loop it just around the bead itself to make, so I can make a knot at the top on that top bead. And as I said, don't worry about the extra fish line because it'll be gone. Because then after we get this done, we will hot glue it, and then you can trim it all at once. So and you want to make it so it'll knot at the top so that it doesn't come undone until you take and do the hot glue. Ouch. There you go. And if it bothers you, trim it back, but leave a little tail so that you can cut it, hot glue it without it coming apart. Because you're going to have it sitting, I have them sitting in my lap. So I had already cut a string, another piece of fish line, put another bead on for the other side. Pull it tight and start at the bottom again. Down through the bottom, up through the middle, down through the top, and pull it tight. And then you start your other side. Okay, I'm finished beading this now, and I've pulled it tight. I made sure I took every one of these plastic strips, had one, and had a bead in between before I tied off the last bead. So, now the next step is hot gluing it. Okay.
Wait a minute.
Okay, Jack made me, out of that wire that that made the center thing out, he made me these little hooks because I usually glue in the RV, and we put them up on our glass rack. But I'm going to use it today out here. There's a hook at that end. There's a hook at the other end for me to hang the twirler on. And then with a hot glue gun, I know it's going to be hard to see. It's going to be hard to see, but what you do is you hot glue that where you put that knot on it. Oh. Yeah, and you burn yourself occasionally. Okay. And you do each one of them like that. All right. Okay. As you can see, I got a bag full of ribbons. Blue, pinks, purples, greens and stuff, and red and blue. Okay, I get them at the dollar store real cheap. There's 5 in a package. And it doesn't matter how long, I don't care how long you want it. Remember, it's your creation, not my creation. This is what I do. Everything that I do is always different. It's never the same. Okay? So, and I do want to apologize if you picked up some arguing, because it wasn't us. And I apologize for it. So, remember that little loop that Jack left in the bottom? I take and I make it twice as long as I want, the ribbon. I fold it in half and I put the middle part in through the hole. Take the ribbons like this, all 4 of them, in my fingers like this. I grab them and pull them through, and it ties them tight on that little loop that Jack made me. Now, this is where your individuality is also, okay? Now, I do beads, I do bells, I do rings, you know, those little plastic kitty rings. I've done little different pony beads and stuff, but I like using the same beads that I put on the twirler itself. So if I've got a red string, and I'll put white beads on this. Now, and this again is your own way of, any way you want to do it. What I do is I take a bead, push the ribbon through the bead, like so, pull it. Then I go decide where I want it. You can have 500 beads here if you want. This is where it's yours. And you tuck it back through loop it up, tuck it back through the bead, and it'll lock your bead right in place. Like so. And there, see, you can see it's all there. And then you can just keep adding beads, or if that's the only bead you want there, then that's your prerogative. Now, some I do 2, some I do 3, some I do 4. Each string is different. Now, as I said, it's up to you. Now, this one has got 1, 2. I'm going to put another one on. But this one I'm going to leave loose and put another one on the bottom. Tuck the ribbon around it so it comes back through again. And as my hands don't work too good with the lupus, I make little tails. Okay. See, it's tied on. So there you go. You've got one done. Okay. When I get the others done, we'll show you the finished product. Okay. Then the last step of the whole project, as you see, I've got the ribbons with my beads on it, whatever I want. Well, now the glue is dry. I go through and I cut that little tail from the fish line and get all the hot glue that I've laced up through. And I get it. And then I cut them. There. Okay. Now, I want to show you something. There's a red and white one. Here's a pink and white one. Now, because I wasn't paying attention, after I got it all put together.
Wait. Okay.
Okay, because I wasn't paying attention, I put 2 beads in here, and I had it all together before I realized that I had put 2 beads in on the middle post. So, well, it's a mess up, so it's mine. And this is one I will sell. Now remember, these are your own projects. They are not mine, they are yours. They are your creations. If you want the twirler part longer, you can make it longer. Instead of using just a whole sheet, use a sheet and a half. It'll just make this longer, and just do what you want. And, you know, and when it comes to your beads on the bottom, you can use yarn, you can use ribbons, you can use whatever you want. I use my pony beads because I have them. But I've put rings on them. You know, the little kitties rings, and I go to the dollar store and get all kinds of little thingies to put on them. So, like this one, we'll go down to a store we have here that has agreed to sell them for me and Jack, and they're a nice little gift to give someone. It's a nice little scouting project. It's a nice little project for kids. If you don't know what to do with the kids, this is really easy. Now, they probably won't be able to cut the pieces, and you'll have to do it for them. But they can do a lot of this themselves, and then let them decorate it the way they want. Now remember, on these you can also put things like a butterfly if you want. Hot glue a butterfly on it. You know, it's what you want. This is all about what you want. This is mine. I like it straight. I like it simple. So, thank you for watching. And this is Rambling Rose with Have Gas Will Travel. And we'll be back with you. If there's any questions on how I did something that you'd like to see a little bit more footage on it, just leave a message and I'll make another video. Have a great day now. Bye.